Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of the Executive. First item on the agenda is, are there any apologies?
Chairman, I've had an apology from Councillors Philip Murphy and Stuart Monroe.
Thank you very much, Anne. So minutes of the previous meeting, minutes of the meeting of the 25th of October. Has anybody got any corrections? Everybody in favour? Okay. Thank you, those are accepted. Right, declarations of interest. I'll start. I'm a non-executive director of Woking Holdings Limited. No?
I'd like to declare personal interest in item 73, the shareholders' report, in that my wife is a non-executive director of the holding company.
Anthony?
I'd like to declare an interest in my role as non-executive chairman of Optist Holdings Limited in connection with the item on companies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, public question time. We've got the first question is from Tamsin Morphy to Simon Weeks. Is Tamsin here? I think not. Okay. Get a written answer. She'll get a written answer. And the second question is Keith Melvin. Keith, to Anthony.
I am here and I'm here to speak. I do suffer as well. I just keep on having to remind people this is a very bad room, and I do ask people who don't speak loudly to speak loudly. We have two mumblers already. I hope that I'm not going to add to the count of mumblers. My question is like this. I was going to ask whoever is leader of the council. There is no leader of the council. A question about the income derived from car parking in the borough.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Yes, there is.
Where?
I'm leader of the council at the moment until we have a
You are acting leader?
Yes.
I do beg your pardon. I do recognise that, but the word acting wasn't anything.
Carry on with your question.
I needed to write this question before I knew. Okay, the Carnival car park received a loan of 1.5 million from the government by the Thames Valley Local Enterprise Partnership. So can you tell me, a tax and council tax payer, how much income has been received this year from this car park?
I believe Anthony's going to answer that one.
Thank you very much, Keith. Right, income generated this year is £61,312.80. Is that loud enough for you?
It's not enough. 61,000, did you say?
I did.
Certainly not enough. From when?
I said for this financial year.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Do you have a supplementary?
I have a supplementary, a shock, first of all, about how little money has been raised, right? But I was going to go on to say, as we all know, regeneration is going on rapidly, perhaps with the exception of the roadworks here, which were due to finish in October, and we have an unpublished date, I believe, the 17th of December. But it would be good if it were published. So before long, we should be seeing Aldi, which will be up and running on Elms Field, offering free car parking for customers, and the Premier Inn will be taking guests. What plans have you got to ensure that the car park will produce significantly more income, and I'll emphasise the significantly now I realise how little is being raised, for council tax payers in the future?
The answer to your question is that the successful regeneration of Woking Town will increase the patronage of Woking Town, will increase the demand for car parking in Woking Town, which will increase the revenue for Woking Town. The other piece, I think I would say, is a lot of the free car parks are 2 hours only, and you can't really shop seriously at Woking in less than 4 hours. So I am expecting more people to need to use the multi-storey car park, either because they work in the town or because they wish to have an extended stay in the town. They may wish to go to the cinema, go to a restaurant, and therefore I would expect the income from the car park to rise once the town centre redevelopment is complete.
I look forward to the budget figures for next year.
Thank you very much, Keith. There's no other public questions, so we're now on to member questions. The first one is Gary Cowan for Simon, and Gary isn't here, so he will get a written answer. And the second one is Rochelle for Anthony.
It's not here, right?
She's at the government.
Have you got the question to ask on her behalf? No, you haven't. Okay, she'll get a written answer as well.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. Right. Next item on the agenda is the shareholders' report. Find it. I think this is a regular update on how the council and companies are getting on. I think the key points in here are the Working Housing Limited having built 123 new homes, and also starting to pay off the operational loans back to the council, which is great news, and we're looking forward to building many more houses in the future. And the second one, I think, is again Adult Social Care Services and Optilis. I think Anthony's going to give us a bit more of an update on Optilis.
Optilis continues to deliver high quality adult social care services. I've been particularly pleased over the last year for the fact that NetCQC have visited and assessed our services, that they've come out with a good rating, whereas there were issues before when they were requiring improvements. I think the new or the current Chief Executive and his team has made a significant improvement in that. Also, the turnover of staff has halved. I think having 750 staff with the two merged businesses enables more efficiencies in working, provides opportunities for staff to have a career path and to develop, and effectively our turnover has reduced from something over 20% to something under 10, which I think in an area where staff are often not paid very well, and to be in a situation where we're competing with a lot of other opportunities in the employment sectors, that we are retaining our staff and the quality of what they do is going up. I think it's good news all round. Also, the financial aspects of the company, it continues to produce a profit, albeit a small one. One of the key aspects of the way that Optilis is structured is that any savings on delivery of the contract are made available to the council as a refund, and then the distribution or reinvestment of that surplus is decided. And in the last year, the surplus that we generated went to fund a pay rise to the staff, and so that was agreed between council and the company, and again it has an impact on staff retention and quality of service as well. So I think we've got some good news items all around. The company has a small portfolio of private work, which forms the basis of its profit. The feature, I think one of the main features of this is the service we provide through Reading College, where we provide an employment service for learning disabled children getting into employment, and we have about 10 children who are on that course, and 9 of them have found employment. So 90% success rate, I think, is particularly good. Other courses, I think, struggle to get to 50%. So I think that they have something really quite significant there. And in many ways, I think it's something that perhaps we need to look at with our adult transitional cohort each year as to whether we need to do it in this area.
So?
Anthony, you'll probably recall that when I was a non-exec on Optilis in the early days, we didn't see very much private work, mainly because we were very busy doing all the council's work. You hinted just now that there is some private work going on. What's the impediment to growing that? Because obviously private care work filters through as ultimately profit to the council that gets reinvested in services. So is the impediment staffing? Because I know there's always difficulty recruiting staff.
I think you may remember that we were keen when Optilis kicked off that we generated some private domiciliary care work, and certainly my mother, when she was at the end of her life, took care services from Optilis, and I was very impressed with the high quality and dedication of the staff. That we did have an issue where we had some financial issues and therefore pulled out of that area completely. But like you, I'm keen to see more of that developed in the future. I suspect that the main issue, apart from, yes, accessing suitable staff, is getting, how should I describe it,
critical mass. Doing one or two, half a dozen people, it doesn't really justify itself. But having a couple of thousand hours, it's much better. The big problem is that in the private sector, a lot of these companies go broke because stakeholder pensions, sweepovers, and the ability or preparedness of the public to actually pay the proper rent. Causes a lot of problems. But I think, as you and I both know, we were really keen that Optus would be high quality, and therefore it would be a service that those people who really wanted that quality of service and that reassurance for their elderly relatives could come to us and we could deliver that. I'm keen to see that happen again, if as and when we can.
Any other questions? So are we happy with this report? Yes, we show that. Thank you. Right, next one is a Wokingham internship programme. Pauline.
Indeed, we have a new name. This is an amazing opportunity initiated by a really superb special school in Addington. Currently, nationally, 94% of people with learning difficulties remain unemployed. But locally, Addington already does a tremendous job in helping youngsters gain employment, and I'm more than happy to support what they're doing here. The benefits to the young people are pretty self-evident, but in addition, it helps to support many of Wokingham Borough Council's own policies. For example, it contributes towards a successful transition from childhood to adulthood. It helps youngsters develop their skills and learn tasks that may help them to hold down a job of work at some point and gain proper employment as they grow up. It gives support to their parents and carers as well. And looking at it from the financial point of view, if these young people are in work as adults, they won't require so much council funding long term. But that's not the main motive for doing that. I think the best summary of the value of it is in the 9th bullet point down, which I'll read out in full because it really is important. It says, turning disability into capability, enabling people with special needs to become independent contributors to the workforce. And indeed it does give a tremendous boost to them. It's part of our special needs strategy to help these youngsters into employment where possible. And we know they can succeed. Some of Addington's pupils already run the Shooters restaurant downstairs for our staff. And quite a lot of others work with local employers. And many of these do go on to gain paid employment as they grow up. The school is asking the council to support this initiative by providing internships here, 4 in the first year, 8 in the second year, successful, and then 12 in the third year. And a number of different departments can be involved. This is something we still need to explore, but for example, Parks Department, leisure centres, schools even, and the whole programme would be coordinated by the school itself, so it wouldn't cost us anything much in terms of staff time or coordination. There's a grant to cover the setup and the first year's costs, and after that it's envisaged that it'll become self-funding. As well as members, I'd like to think that all of our senior leaders would promote this initiative right across the whole of the council. And I'm sure they will, because I know that there's a huge concern and sympathy for these children and a real will to help them into an adult life that gives them a working life if that's possible for them. And I applaud what Addington's doing here, their initiative, as I applaud the work that they're already doing with young people to gain them employment. The recommendation is over the page on page 34, so I'm happy to propose that.
Anthony.
I'm obviously interested in this item in connection with what I was talking about at Optus previously, and I would ask, are you in contact with Optus? Have you talked to them about the programme they're running at Reading College? Because you seem to be involved in trying to getting these people into work, which seems, what I understand, is exactly what Optus is doing. They're doing, 90% of the time, not 5% of the time. And
if we've got a cohort coming through, it seems to me that it's something where we've got a supplier of a service that is well developed and well respected, that we could help these people do exactly what you're saying in bullet point 9, which, like you, I think is absolutely key and important.
That's right, yeah. I think, in a sense, that question is a little bit premature in that we're being asked tonight to agree the principle. If we do agree the principle, at that stage, there will be discussions with every council department about what they can help and contribute. And I will ensure that Optimus is one of the departments that we consult with. So,
Clearly, in this particular programme, we're just playing a part by offering potential internships. We're not the organiser of it. Obviously, I think if this proves successful as a council, we should promote this quite strongly to encourage other employers in the borough to step forward, because it is quite obvious that sometimes people with learning difficulties are very good contributors into routine work, which they get a great deal of pleasure from, and I think it takes them away from the institutional environment that some of them are subjected to some of the time. So I'm very supportive of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. Any other comments? When I've often talked to people around the streets, and they're all the people who do have children at Addington are really positive about what a great job Addington does. So this is an indication of how innovative they are and how they're really pushing about it. So I'm very pleased about it.
can I just come back and say how much I support what Councillor Simon Weeks has just said, because I think if the council gives us an example, as long as it is publicised, then local employers will jump on that bandwagon as well, as some already have. And I will keep you updated. In fact, once it gets off the ground and is working, I'll probably do a press release so that hopefully we can get some more publicity for the good thing that's going on, because it is good news. And I'm fully in favour of what Addington is doing. It's a brilliant school, and the head teacher has got this fantastic initiative going, so we must support it.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. So can I see show of hands in favour of that? Right, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is fees and charges. I think normally you're going to do this, weren't you?
Yes.
And I believe you've got an amendment.
Okay, thank you. Yes, there is an amendment to part of the schedule of the fees and charges. And we've got the amended a table, so that amends part of the fees and charges. The reason for that, let me just explain what the difference is. It was found that some of the current year comparative figures in the PPP were incorrect and different from those presented at the licensing committee, so that's now been corrected. The figures for 1920, which is what we're going to be deciding on tonight, have not changed, so they're exactly the same. There was also a line in the PPP charges for high hedges that also appeared in the WBC appendix. The fees in the PPP only apply to the other two authorities in the partnership, as Wokion provides the service ourselves. Again, that's been removed from the PPP appendix. So those are the only changes in this revised set of figures that we have. Just turning to some of the items that are on page 40. Most of the charges that have been increased by inflation have done so by an average of 3.2%, which was related to the RPI at July 2018. Some of the fees and charges have also varied according to the cost of providing the service. A lot of the charges within the PPP were benchmarked this year as well against other authorities, just to make sure that we're remaining competitive whilst maximising the income from these sort of services. So most of the charges will be brought in from the 1st of December. However, the sports, cemeteries, housing and youth and community charges will alter from the 1st of January 2019 and 1st of April. So then move to the recommendations. So recommendation 1 would change to the schedule of fees and charges as set out in Appendix A, with the appropriate pages revised according to the supplementary note. So I propose to accept the recommendation.
Anthony?
Just really wanted to welcome, I think we've had a couple of years now where we've brought this through in November rather than leaving it to February, and I think it's good to see this coming in early and being able to be considered in its own. Particularly pleased to see the inflation using RPI, and obviously inflation has been kicking up a bit, so it's good that we're keeping abreast of that so that we maintain our income in real terms, because as we all know, that some of these numbers are quite small and it's quite easy to get behind the curves and run to say what
Any other comments? No? So I see a show of hands in favour of that? Thank you very much. And I think that's the end of the meeting. So thank you very much. That was 20 minutes. Thank you.